Public schools needs to be taught their responsibilities to students and the community. Someone at Portland Public Schools needs to go to jail when a 9-year-old girl is gang raped in a school bathroom and the school decides not to call police. Oregon's mandatory reporting law makes failure to report even suspected sexual abuse a crime. A new lawsuit says the 9-year-old girl was coerced into a school bathroom, stripped and raped by 2 boys, 2 years ago. The father of one of the boys, God bless him, found out what they had done and reported it to PPS. Then, PPS decided not to call the police, did its own investigation and, get this, suspended the boys for a single day. Bad boys, you get a slap on the hand for rape. The girl's father immediately tried to get his daughter moved to another school and away from her rapists. PPS took a month to get that done. Apparently, the #MeToo philosophy hasn't reached the halls of Portland public schools. Now, the schools face a $9 million lawsuit from the girl's family and, frankly, I hope they win. Reporters should be demanding schools identify all the officials who violate the mandatory reporting law. Do you need any more reasons to get your kids out of toxic, government-run schools where they're not learning and literally in danger?
Alrighty then, Alex Ansary here with a historic level of uploads. I don't blame you if you can't watch. I'm uploading more than you can watch, but I hope that these videos will stay around and that history will show that on this date of April 6, 2024, like many days this week, I basically reported and recorded a wide array of content, like constantly, and called out like lots of different family bloodlines to set an example to you that you can do it too.
When a classmate touched her genitals over her clothing during a class taught by a...
Okay. Pause right there. How do you feel about that? Okay.
Locked her in a stall and took turns sexually assaulting her against her will. The father of one of those male students involved learned from the...
How many of you would like go Ninja Rambo on this one?
...incident from their child and reported it to staff at Scott Elementary School. The lawsuit claims that PPS interviewed the 9-year-old without immediately notifying her family and suspended the boys involved for 1 day. PPS released a statement to Fox 12 saying that they are investigating, are mandatory reporters, and must report any instance of possible child abuse and neglect to DHS. According to one mother, Scott Elementary failed to notify parents.
It is the school's obligation to give parents the opportunity.
It is an emotional thing when you get attacked. It's not just a physical thing. It's not just a physical attack. It's the fact that you've been spiritually attacked, basically, when someone assaults you. They got local news. Now, here's one. Governor signs bill recriminalizing drugs in Oregon. Now, that's something to talk about because we're probably going to see the emergence of the police state in Portland with a lot of, as somebody put it, people of color that are now going to get put away in Portland after they thought that they could go to Portland. I mean, it's their own fault for being naive, you know. Looks like there's been another stabbing. Another stabbing. I just said last week that there was like some sort of like a... I'm like looking, I got to look away from the screen. Ugh. Yeah, I said there's a possessed person walking around Portland, stabbing people, and someone that listens to this also sent that link, although I didn't need him to tell me the obvious because I can see that. That's a big story. That's not necessarily a revelation. But we are seeing the emergence of women killing their kids. And I, from a psychic perspective, know that there is dark energy in Oregon.
Found. Fox 12's Jeffrey Lindblom joins us live from Ridgefield, where authorities found
I'm going to have to make a milkshake.
Nora Riel, it's a heinous crime. A 27-year-old mother charged with murdering her 4-year-old boy. Police said that they found inconsistencies with the woman's story when she explained that her car was parked in Seattle, but instead it was found parked right here. this tap house in Ridgefield.
We get a lot of cars left here, so we probably wouldn't have noticed it for a couple days.
Police say this is surveillance video of 27-year-old Janet Garcia showing up at this Ridgefield tap house, parking her car Wednesday. At the same time, police outside Seattle were already looking for her 4-year-old son, Ariel Garcia.
We just couldn't figure out why she left it here.
Court documents show Janet told Clark County deputies she and her son were staying with a friend in Everett. However, police in Everett say that friend told them she came home to find blood on her floor, and the two nowhere to be found. During the interview, investigators tell us Janet said the blood came from her son's head after he fell out of bed, and she left to take him to the hospital, which she claimed was taking too long. So she dropped him off at an unknown friend's house in Seattle. That's where authorities say she claimed she had left her car, but according to this bartender, that's not where it was found. It was here in Ridgefield.
She just parked and then walked up north on 10th, just left it there. We're assuming she must have known someone or someone picked her up in the area because we're really off the beaten path just to randomly choose our parking lot.
Deputies would get a call from this rehabilitation center a half-mile down the road, a place staff members say she knew well, as she had come seeking treatment for alcohol-related issues in the past.
She was just calm, quiet, just needed nothing out of the normal.
Daniel, who works here, says while she was calm, she did have mood swings, and when she showed up this time around, they were on high alert because Janet's mother had called them, concerned about her grandson, Ariel.
And so that's when I initially called 911 and told her that she was here.
Daniel says she seemed as calm as ever as he waited for police.
Your son's missing, there's blood, and you're just out here, like nothing happened. It was not normal.
Police would arrive and question the 27-year-old, later arresting her, saying she provided false statements to officers. Just before 6 o'clock Thursday night, police found Ariel Garcia's body along I-5 in Pierce County, not far from Tacoma. Everett police have charged Janet with murder and assault of a child Daniel says he had the pleasure to know.
If it doesn't hit you in the heart, there's something wrong with you. All kids are innocent.
We're told she'll be booked into the Snohomish County Jail sometime tonight. No word yet on any court dates. Everett police are still looking for tips in this investigation and are asking you to come forward if you happen to have any information. Reporting live in Ridgefield, I'm Jeffrey Lindblom for Fox 12 Oregon.
Just a heartbreaking story. Jeffrey, thank you.
And then walked up north on 10th, just left it there. We're assuming she must have known someone or someone picked her up in the area because we're really off the beaten path just to randomly choose our parking lot.
Deputies would get a call from this rehabilitation center a half-mile down the road, a place staff members say she knew well, as she had come seeking treatment for alcohol-related issues in the past.
She was just calm, quiet, just needed nothing out of the normal.
Daniel, who works here, says while she was calm, she did have mood swings, and when she showed up this time around, they were on high alert because Janet's mother had called them, concerned about her grandson, Ariel.
And so that's when I initially called 911 and told her that she was here.
Daniel says she seemed as calm as ever as he waited for police.
Your son's missing, there's blood, and you're just out here, like nothing happened. It was not normal.
Police would arrive and question the 27-year-old, later arresting her, saying she provided false statements to officers. Just before 6 o'clock Thursday night, police found Ariel Garcia's body along I-5 in Pierce County, not far from Tacoma. Everett police have charged Janet with murder and assault of a child Daniel says he had the pleasure to know.
If it doesn't hit you in the heart, there's something wrong with you. All kids are innocent.
And they will get an opportunity at a chance because of racism, but I won't.
And social woman.
And a lot of you don't get this. I wasn't given opportunities in Portland, but black people were. I wasn't given opportunities beyond busing tables.
Postings have statements, admissions, confessions, if you will, by the defendant about, look what I stole this money and look what I've done with it, or videos of it. That's evidence.
Arraigned Thursday with a $100,000 bail, Williams faces several charges: aggravated theft, identity theft, computer crime, money laundering, and conspiracy.
Most of the charges that the defendant is facing are Class B felonies in Oregon, and so that means that the maximum sentence is 10 years. Although In some instances, the judge could sentence consecutively.
Her alleged scheme started back in April 2022 when she acted as an employee of the nonprofit Central City Concern. Prosecutors say she used the false identity to dupe the Housing Bureau of Portland into wiring $1.4 million to an LLC she owned in Florida. The funds were meant to build low-income housing.
Harming those who have the least in our society, and it's allegedly being used for personal gain. So I think that would be considered an aggravating factor.
Once in that account, prosecutors say she transferred funds to her Cash App, withdrew $25,000 to gift her mother a car, and also wired most of the money to an account in Mexico. The city caught up with her when police realized there was a cybersecurity breach in the city's network.
We've strengthened our financial controls. We've implemented additional cybersecurity measures to prevent future unauthorized access.
This case is the largest theft of public funds in Portland history.
Okay, here we go. More nefariousness. Naughty, naughty. You too can become whiter with the new. No, they used to do that. Now it's like, now you too can become blacker with our. I called it.
Portland firefighter has been sentenced to 7.5 years in prison for his role in an armed kidnapping back in 2021. Douglas Borland, who was convicted in a trial last month, was sentenced today. The kidnapping happened near Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in downtown Portland, where the victim was dining. According to court documents, Borland believed the victim had burglarized his marijuana business and with two other men went out to, quote, teach that man a lesson. The court documents show they pistol whipped the victim and drove him to a marijuana farm in Estacada and left him there overnight inside a container. Police found the victim the next morning. He was hurt but did not go to the hospital.
The A-man is not juiced in anymore with what's going on. And I bet he is just looking at what's happening in Oregon and shaking his head going, fuck, man, fuck. You know what I mean? There's a whole new wave of gangsters in Oregon. Leg breakers, bouncers, and see, modern-day bouncers in Portland. Let's just keep watching news. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Hurt in a stabbing in southeast Portland. It happened shortly after midnight at southeast 122nd Avenue near Mill Street. Police say they got word of a 911 call from an apartment where sounds of a disturbance were heard. A minute later, someone else called 911 to indicate that someone had been stabbed. When officers arrived, they challenged the suspect, who they say rushed a sergeant and punched him in the neck area before being arrested. 21-year-old Justin Barrera Guild, who police say had a domestic relationship with the woman. Barrera Guild faces several domestic violence charges, as well as assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and other charges.
What?
All new at 10, a Southeast Portland family is feeling violated after Fox 12's Most Wanted broke into their home in the middle of the day. The intruder was caught on camera, and the homeowner hopes the video will help catch them so this doesn't happen to anyone else. Fox 12's Drew Marine joins us live now to tell us what happened and why the homeowner says she's considering moving. Drew?
Yeah, Erica Hetfeld is a third-generation Portlander, and after this break-in in the Eastmoreland neighborhood, she wants city leaders to step up because she feels they're not doing enough to prosecute criminals.
Oh my God.
Last Thursday was like any other day for Erica Hetfeld until she got a ring notification while she was at work.
So
Surveillance video shows a black SUV pulling into her driveway.
Concerned about folks that are out of the inner core. Okay, and this is a bad sign that it's moving to areas that typically are nice.
But she wasn't expecting any packages to arrive.
And I thought it was very odd because this guy got out who had a mask on and a baseball hat and slippers. And he went up to my door with what looked like a kid's toy.
In the video, you can see the man wearing all black in an Oregon State mask and slippers. After bringing the toy to the door, he gets a...
I did accurately predict that this lockdown thing would lead to mass. For those of you listening to me in Portland, you just need to understand that the whole mask thing, while I respect your right to put on a mask, and I'm not a full conspiracy tard, you need to understand that the system did kind of let criminals run wild over the virus thing. And I don't agree with conspiracy people on the dark side that want people that took the vax to die, but I don't support you thinking everyone should be vaxxed, and I'm not a right-winger or racist. A lot of you are driven nuts by the same system that's killing people. You should know better than to do this. So, This whole thing with everybody wearing a mask set it up for it to be normal for men and others to have masks to be robbing you. This is probably a master plan. I'm sorry to tell you that. And if you haven't heard about the Purge movie series, for those of you that are white that have something, you probably want to check that out and figure out what's coming, because I'm not a white nationalist racist when I talk about anti-white crimes. I'm a person of color that's been punched in the face by black people in Portland, and nobody really cared. And nobody cared about me in Portland when I stood against the crime, and I've been really upset with everybody in Portland. And right now I'm looking outside my window because I'm hearing that race car sound again. People are really cruel here where I live. I want to come home to Portland so bad I want to cry. I don't plan to kill myself, just so you know. But I fall into like a sad state. So I've predicted women getting kidnapped en masse in Portland. I've predicted the Chinese-Russian invasion of America. I've had my heart broken by promiscuous Portland white women that don't see something in this sacred masculine. So as I watch these videos, I am re-traumatized for my years of warning you about these things. I'm not just watching the news. I'm re-traumatized for years of warning about these things. And I'm traumatized again by fears of either people that I know being harmed by random criminals because they've been harmed before because they told me bloody stories of Portland's past. That's why I'm scared shitless, because of the past. The past hasn't been healed. So as long as people live in a violent place where violence is a way of life, why would I not fear for their lives and the people in Portland, Oregon?
Painters pull out of his car and starts heading toward the house on Southeast Woodstock.
He takes the painter's pole, and then my backyard camera.
I lived out there
blue,
too.
Like he painted over it, or in this case, he.
I lived out there during good times, guys.
Painter's tape over
well,
it.
they weren't great times for me, but there were better times for Portland.
Later, I get a text message.
There were
from
better
the alarm
times.
company
There were
that
great times for Portland, guys, but not for me.
Why are they starving to death?
Okay.
Because I'll tell you.
What the fuck is this shit?
On October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel, and in response, Israel went into a military operation, attacking them back and trying to get the hostages back.
What is Mike Bluehair doing talking to them?
They're not starving them to death.
No.
Israel is...
The opposite is the right. No,
Israel is
the opposite. We're giving them...
What do you think, you're bulletproof, dude?
They're not starving anyone. First of all, we do not owe to Palestinians to give them food and take aid into the Gaza Strip, and we're still doing it, even though they can bring their own.
Mike Bluehair threw me out when I was homeless, though. That's what hurts. I don't understand why Mike Bluehair thought it was authorized to leave me in the streets when he's never met another dude like me. Yeah, Palestinians, bro, but and then you said, like, no, this hurts because I want to heal the past with you and Gunner. But what you did was wrong. And what Joyce did was wrong when she threw me away when I needed you to cover my mail, get my mail. So I just want people to know, like, it's good you're reporting this and stuff. But how are you guys really doing all you can to stop, like, what you say you're against? When you leave people like me, journalists like me, citizens, reporter like me, out in the street, when I was willing to live in your backyard. I never tried to have sex with your girlfriend, Joyce. You didn't need to throw me out. You didn't want to talk to me about Israel, Afghanistan. When I was there, all you did was play video games. Violent video games. Really violent video games. And then you and Jesse Spomberg, who insulted me for being, into understanding the demons that are attacking your city. And you made fun of me too, Mike Bluehair. Like, if there were good people in Antifa that weren't racist, that would tell me they accept me and say Afghan lives matter, I'd say that's awesome. Black lives matter. Palestinian lives matter. Why can't you say my life matters? I think it's weird, guys.
They can get their own stuff and getting them food. Yeah, it is.
Since 2007, you've had an air, land, and sea blockade.
Like Mike Bluehair isn't going to talk about the Afghan people, though. Just like the other leftists in Portland, and that's what startles me. Nor Gunner Standard. Gunner wanted to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and kill those people after 9/11. And for years, and probably to this day, he doesn't actually believe the truth. Actually, he believes what the government and Stefan Molyneux have told him.
blocking them from doing
There's no blockade. They have a border with. There's no blockade. They have a border with Egypt. How is that a blockade? They have a border with a different country, with Egypt. Open a damn map and you'll find out. Yeah.
They have a border with Egypt. What about the fence and the concrete wall and the barbed wire and the Egyptian military?
You ever seen a border between the United States and Canada? Because that also has barbed wire. I'll tell you that much. Any country that has two neighboring countries have a border.
Well, he's talking to possessed people, dude, but I don't think, like, what they're talking to him to begin with, and so, like, I don't understand how this happened or what's going on his end, because when we look at his channel, we don't see anything else. He doesn't have a website. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying, like, this is poor journalism. This is ridiculous. This is an important story. You don't have a website. You won't take accountability for your past. I think you beat your girlfriend. And so this whole Mike's blue hair humanitarian thing, I'm not buying. It's easy to just get on board you're stopping like the genocidalists, you're the humanitarians. But you weren't a humanitarian with Alex Ansary. And I don't think you're a humanitarian with Joyce. Now, Joyce helped you for many years, but you claim that she killed your squirrel in a video from a few months ago. Okay, but she sheltered you for a long time. So what's the deal there? How are you different when you're with friends and have friends with people that are into right-wing things? And then you got in the car with Pete Santilli, who is a pretty nefarious character, for those of you that know about Pete Santilli. You've had strange bedfellows, including Robert West.
You would know that every two countries that have a border between them have wires and walls.
No, there's no barbed wire in a wall between Canada and the United States. I've walked across.
You've walked across at a crossing point, not at any point. Not at any point on the border can you walk across.
There's no wall and a fence between Canada.
There are also crossing points between Israel and Gaza. They're not the whole way is blocked with a wall, but there are specific crossing points.
Like with little bouncy huts, and they're like laughing and like having a rave party.
Listen.
No, that is completely fake.
If
That's
you're
not
gonna
So
keep being influenced by lies on...
Thinking about my ex-girlfriend. E, are you okay? Are you okay, E? E, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, E?
During his time inside her house, she says the burglar didn't take obvious items like their TV. Instead, she says he did something much more violating.
I walked straight up the stairs and ransacked our bedroom and took every single piece of jewelry I own except for what I was wearing that day, which is this. Went through my husband's drawers, upended them.
See, what's really terrifying about the whole thing is that there's nothing that I can do to stop the attacks on women.
Certification, that means he can no longer work as a police officer in the state of Oregon. Rao was accused of removing drugs and money between October 21 and May of 2023.
So just whatever, man.
Here this week with a bow and arrow, 42-year-old David Collins Sr. of Vancouver was found dead Tuesday morning in a driveway just outside the city limits. A witness telling investigators that Collins and another man, Richard Vanderhook, had been fighting. Authorities say Vanderhook called 911 and said that he had shot.
It's unfathomable.
Tonight, family of the man killed on a MAX train last Friday, remembering him as a kind, generous, and amazing man. Michael Brady was stabbed to death in what police say was an unprovoked attack while he was commuting home from work. Michael was sitting near his attacker on the train, but police say they had no contact prior to the assault. Earlier tonight, we spoke with Michael's niece, who passed along a message from Michael's wife.
Nora is his wife. They've been married since 2011. She said that she wanted everybody to know that Michael was a great human being. He was a great father, a wonderful husband, and a great stepfather. She also asked that people be made aware that Michael was a hardworking man. Like, he provided for his family. He did not complain. He went to work.
Nothing wrong with her wanting people to know that. What's sad, though, is that one would feel that they have to say that.
Now, it's like, it literally is an experience for me to look through the lens of the microcosm of what's happening to the greater whole of society, especially when so many people feel that this is the only place for them. Now, I understand there's a drought issue in Colorado as well as California, and there's other issues, but this last year, what I've been able to survive, and not just, but going back to Portland where it's going to a place to the point of no return, with population growth, with crime, and with the ever-emerging police state. As the money dries up, you're going to see more aggressive police behavior again down the line, pulling people over, giving people tickets, and more tensions amongst the population. Now, I know a lot of people laugh at the idea of smart meters and cell phone towers and other things causing electromagnetic pollution, but I'll also say in response to that retort, there is a lot of different articles coming out now about the health hazards concerning smart meters.
Park accidentally in certain areas, they'll tow your vehicle. Now, this truck here has a certain amount of bad luck. It says, I share the road. They also love Oregon. And who knows, maybe you stay in the back of this canopy. They're taking this truck as life goes on. That's like a game, you know? It's like a video game. They figure, you know, there's gonna be so many people that don't know what they're doing. They're gonna park in the wrong place, and it's business as usual. It's completely acceptable aspects of our society. And we can see how things like can project forward 10 years, 20 years, trying to take more and more. The most important thing though, you know, there's no point in yelling at some of these people, they're just doing their job. But karma's a serious thing. You know, whatever you put out there comes back. Okay. So he's telling him, don't do that. I might get the police. I got to do my job. I need to steal the vehicle.
Lands, let it all be, but you know.
Tell me first, your home was devalued. Prior to 2005, artificially.
Correct. That's correct. And
because I don't fully understand the cycle, I know this is a sensitive issue, but I thought I would record this part, and now we're seeing some people having difficulty affording the property taxes because the property's been quickly.
There's never ever any delinquency on the property taxes. They said we built an oversized two-car garage without their permission. And we did not. That was built in 1908, and the same year the house was built.
Now we're talking about the city of Portland?
The county of Multnomah.
Multnomah County. Wow. They are very criminal in a lot of different ways. Primal earth energies, and so there is something about the nature aspect to this region. But in reality, the real Portlandia is one in which history starts with a violent beginning with men with axes cut deep into its heart, forming a culture in their image, brutally displacing the Native American tribes that inhabited this region before them with smallpox, measles, and other diseases, forcibly removing them, murder, forced assimilation of the children into their culture in churches downtown. The state of Oregon's first government, by the way, was essentially the KKK, according to history. And by the way, the state's first mental institution was on Asylum Avenue, now called Hawthorne. It is true that Oregon is a very green state, but it's also a very red state. And we aren't talking politics, we're talking red as in blood, as in this bloodshed that came before us has left an energetic imprint over the land. That I believe and always have. This is not limited to Portlandia, however, specific events that occurred over time in specific areas, possibly leaving strong energy residues that forever have affected future residents of this area until intention is brought forward to raise the energy of Portland. While most claim that that's exactly what Portland is good at, being enlightened helpers and lovers of the earth, again, we'll get into that in due time. But from its beginning moments, when the trees were violently ripped out, a once
from
ancient
2014
forest was clear to make way
I was
for the very
homeless
first shacks and first buildings
when I hosted this.
To feature the imported booze and prostitutes, the town's first women. It was party time for the wealthy white New England plutocrats that organized some twisted circuses. And this is an image from Wicked Portland, the book. I recommend that people look for that book online. You can find it at the library as well.
In Portland, the plutocracy had free reign to do what they could not do openly back east in the more established cities. Their part in establishing Portland as a prime vice city was also done to profit further from the earnings of the new working male class that composed of loggers, sailors, miners, and more that came from all over the country in order to blow their newfound and growingly popular dollar bills in a place where every imaginable excitement of the senses of the day could be bought or sold. With the money and booming population, they enacted the first city of Portland in their image and to suit their private interests. The screams of the past seem to live on, and one's imagination can probably fill in the blanks as to what kind of suffering some of the town's first working girls may have endured. But the suffering was not limited to women living in a world ruled by men. Our subject several weeks ago, episode 2 since my return, was the history of Shanghaiing, or the art of crimping, which is duping, drugging, or tricking unwitting sailors, loggers, and other men in the late 1880s, and also earlier and later, but specifically centering around that time period was where a lot of that was going on. Men were tricked into indentured servitude onto ships leaving the Willamette River. Sometimes they forged their signatures on the ship's articles, the crimps that is. This went on for a long time, and it's in Old Town Chinatown today where a lot of this took place, including the operation of the town's first brothels, gambling dens, and saloons. Today we can see a continuation of the past. It's still very turbulent in this part of town where a lot of these things took place. With a lot of human beings suffering from mental illness, addiction problems, and the city of Portland's history of working to keep much of the town's problems, including vice, tucked away in this particular area. We can see also how the energy of the past is affecting people today in the new real Portlandia when we know the history and we know the accurate present. This will help us in seeing where we are going, and that is something that needs to be discussed. There's a lot to cover in 42 minutes, but I'm going to do my best. I really am. Today, the real Portlandia is one in which a new wave of migration in recent years has taken the city by storm. However, instead of these moves boosting the quality of life for Portlanders, overall it's dramatically raising the cost of living, strongly affecting those
this would be after the summer of 2014.
The homeless and those receiving no aid whatsoever from the government. There's many of us in that category. The unnatural growth in population and demand for housing is driving property values up to dangerous levels that are likely to displace thousands more native-born Portlanders in the coming years, especially those dependent on Social Security funds, which are not adjusting to cost of living demands or increases like gas, utility, food, or rent. Property tax and
turn it up a notch.
Increases is driven by a long list of buyers throughout America, thanks to the internet, thanks to all these TV shows and whatnot, that can afford to pay higher than the average rents, and they are moving here in droves. And it's not just California. Big East Coast migration is here. Start to ask yourself who benefits from putting the focus on Portland in the mainstream media, promoting TV shows like Portlandia that bastardize what this town really is while leaving out the good things that have come from this area. We see the kind of selfishness and extreme narcissism and vanity that it's attracted since. Portlandia now featured on SNL, at least the actor, Saturday Night Live in New York City. It is an issue of supply and demand, and Portland has been put out on the global market. Its ass has been put out there. It's time to twerk Portland. It's time to twerk, twerk, twerk. It's an issue of supply and demand. Portland's out on the market being branded as something that it's not, using what good is left in Portland while jeopardizing its existence in our future at a rate that special private interests appear to be taking over more property and land, accumulating more outrageous wealth, all the while maintaining tight control over what is being voted on, spent, and done behind closed doors at City Hall, in particular the finances, the investments, even the mysterious bondholders, which we referenced last week at our Investigating the City of Portland episode. In the real Portlandia, Escape from New York and Escape from LA weren't just movies. I've seen dozens of I Love New York t-shirts on families in recent weeks and days, and I don't mean families that look like they're struggling financially. They have new cars, live in nice homes, and they love New York before it got to be too much for them. Similar things.
Meanwhile, my mom left me for New York.
It's
funny.
Fleeing bankrupted cities,
under the guise of ballet being
state, higher crime, and so much more. The belief right now is
not
that
kind enough
if
to
you
her
go in
in
droves
Portland.
with hundreds of thousands of other humans, they're expecting 400,000 people in this region in the next several decades. And we're talking the whole metro area. Now, 400,000 people, Portland's been about that population for more than a decade, for some time. it's going to be a big, big deal to double and then move on from there, however long this Tower of Babel is going to continue. Utility rates, fees, and taxes continue to explode in cost. Every indicator shows a situation rich with runaway debt and spending that can land Portland easily into bankruptcy, giving those private interests vast degrees more power than ever before. These are recent headlines produced by the Oregonian, obvious rebuttals to some of the more outrageous #1 titles that Portland has received by larger publications. There's no doubt in my mind that there's more than a few people here, frankly, that feel taken for a ride, just like the old times in old Portland. Portland has also been listed on America's happiest cities, most unhappiest cities, and that is becoming clear. High in drug usage, high in alcoholism, sex addiction, domestic violence, divorce rates, and suicide. We didn't even get into unemployment, the real unemployment numbers that aren't being counted, the real homeless numbers that aren't being counted. In the real Portlandia, there's no escape from the world out there. You can't just run from your problems, from the economic problems, from homeless issues, from public safety issues, from concerns about environmental degradation. You will find in some cases many things you do not expect to find here. As a walker, you need to keep a very clear head about you as you walk. This is not the time for America's favorite current pastime, which is to lose yourself in the land of your cell phone, thumb scanning yourself, giving your information to the big banks, to the the FBI, the CIA every few seconds, while pleasure-enhancing chemicals are created by your brain reward style each time you get a new text message or message on your Facebook mobile. How some people in the real Portlandia have made it this long without being hit by a truck is something amazing indeed. I'm very careful and I don't walk in front of cars in order to make them stop. Stop, I am a god. You are a car. I'm gonna make you stop. It brings back this phrase that I've heard before. You could be right, but you could be dead right. Unfortunately, this is a big part of Portland culture, and it's done all over. Sometimes it's done as an anti-car form of elitism when people casually start out in the street and exercise their, protected walker status. I encourage them.
Protected walker
status. Not dependent on someone else stopping for you, breaking you, seeing you, hearing you, or giving a damn about you. It's not good survival strategy. As the saying goes, you can be right, but you can be dead right. I do not believe you have the right to interfere with the free will.
Why am I not working in Hollywood? Gunner, you never try to help me do nothing.
Or this. Those humans, be they walkers, bikers, or drivers, that don't know how to share the road in a common sense way are people that probably live lives violating the free will of others or using their influence to manipulate the decisions of others. In other words, this...
God, how's a guy like man going home alone that night? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
...is indicative of an entitled personality, not a...
Like, nobody in Portland responded to this episode.
Edge of human
look at the likes on it. Those are like 3 likes probably.
In the real Portlandia, you find that sense of entitlement
1,000 views.
Not only in how people cross the street, bike, drive, but how you are treated when you don't tip enough, buy enough, consume enough, or impress others enough. The main religions of the Portland area. The entitlement mentality engrosses so many dimensions of reality here. Most of all, the desire demand to be entertained the way that they want to be entertained. This word entertainment has many definitions in this case and could relate to relationships, activism, those watching this show now, wishing to be entertained or informed in the specific nature that they desire, or spoken to with a religious or partisan political tone, you know who you are, or in a particular angry anarchist, burn it all.
And this was pre-Trump.
Let the world die tone.
This was me calling it out before Trump even came on the scene.
Confusion and resentment. In the real Portlandia, you find a city that nurtures the narcissist within. That personality within the larger body of mankind that is obsessed with itself, without emotion in some cases for others. You have a city that rewards those that effectively sell themselves or present a favorable image of something they are projecting. It's a world that supports the player playing the game and those that cheat their way to the top or the bottom. Ever hear of middle management? It's a great place to investigate this reality. And for those involved in middle management, past, future, present, if there's a way you can save your soul, redeem your soul, or preserve your soul, I would give this some consideration and how these things can affect your... In the real Portlandia, if you are too smart for your own good, it could be a challenge for you. if you're a true contrarian, free thinker, swimmer against the grain. Portland's reputation is one of progressive ideals and radicals everywhere. And it's true the city has some elements of that. It's also richer than cheesecake when it comes to the influence of cliques overall, including political groups that are mostly organized around a form of political groupthink or collectivist thought or socialist or communist or a distorted understanding of anarchy. Want to hear this or not? Dry those tears away, honey. The real Portlandia is one that comes with a vile sexual energy, and the frequency is anything but anything that could be described as sexually liberated. The people of this town are not sexually liberated. They're outrageously oppressed at their own hand, and I believe the energy of this land, the trauma it and the people endured from the past, we've spoken about parts of those things in histories. These are all factors that strongly influence the darker aspects of sexuality that manifest here, far more than the lighter aspects of sexuality. Also, women that live in this region are very unfriendly for the most part and don't look relaxed whatsoever when walking, running, driving, or biking or other down the street, with few exceptions. And one of the reasons I traveled beyond the confines of this region in 2011 was to see what it was like elsewhere in America. Seriously. This is really, really effed up. And it's more evidence of an inverted reality, Portland being a microcosm for the larger world suffering from a greater sickness and fracturing of consciousness. And we're going to focus more on that in a future show, that subject just by itself. And I've been to other places, Texas, Colorado, and it's been different. But then again, in those areas, I'm not known for doing what I've done on Access TV, which is looked upon by the community in a fairly negative way, not a positive way. The real Portlandia, by the way, and this is not meant to be an insult, there's actually a documentary film in the making right now called Whitelandia. And I believe that some people want it that way, and their social group choices is the reference material. The real life documentation can be seen at clubs, parks, other social groups throughout the city, and there are many reasons why there's heavy migration here at this time. There's growing concerns about racial tensions in parts of this country, where the economic desperation is greater in some cases, and we can see the ways in which the institutional forms of control have turned the perception of races, notice, perception of races against each other, including class warfare, including gender competition. Unfortunately, if you are not perceived to be fully white, white people may resent you for being aware of these changes that do exist, including tribalist behavior, in which darker-skinned humans are often left out of social circles, work opportunities, or other. Gentrification is a term widely known throughout the country, but it is here that the most extreme forms of it can be seen and found, and there are many white people that are going to be displaced from their homes in the coming months, in the coming years. It is happening now. And by the way, there's a certain amount of homes that have been foreclosed on that are still empty. They're just building the property value up, and then they will bring more. Build it, tear down the old homes, build the new micro homes, and they will come from afar. We're going to see more international migration to Portland now that it's being talked about on a global level. In the real Portlandia, the service industrial complex is one of the most conditioned experiences one can have in Portland at a entry level. However, the fierce, callous level of human competition exists through the work world, but it is in the service industry that its ugly head can be seen with full color. In the real world, those with desired looks and assets move up in a world where certain middle managers with control, dominators, sociopathic tendencies are in charge. Women today believe that it's okay for men to be displaced as passed up for work because of a global world history of male domination of the workplace, and so this is evidence of a controlled, managed war of the genders for work, space, food, and more. It's actually even entered the mass consciousness, yet this is happening and is being artificially driven by inhuman forces that seek to see our own self-destruction. So divide man and woman. You have man and woman playing this game. Have man and woman compete against each other. Have man and woman have no empathy for each other. Have man and woman on hamster wheels making that money, baby. Gonna make that dollar, baby. We don't need to talk about that dollar falling. We can make that money, baby. The work situation is bad in Portland, very bad, and with that comes great discrimination and new forms of class and racial and gender tensions. Several former male managers of mine have been fired for sexual harassment or sex with staff. In the case of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, after being let go in 2009 during the downtime after the banker bailout period that sent some aspects of the financial community into shock. The manager that let me go was also someone that had sex, allegedly, with a, well, I won't say this on air. He allegedly committed a crime with a woman that worked there, a staff member. It wasn't just having sex with the staff member, but this is from John's YouTube channel. So I saw an old, there he is. I saw an old coworker at the park, and she told me about him leaving Ruth's Chris. And I remember all the different times that he would pray on the hostesses at the front. And I remember feeling humiliated as I spoke before you here at Outside the Box TV, and I was denied promotion for years to be a server, to go from busser to server. And for years, I really thought that I wasn't good enough. And at this point, without a job, I really have lost confidence in myself in the restaurant industry, because someone like me does not appear to be someone that they want, and I know through my experience what the real world is like, regardless of whatever fairy tale, happy, shiny people holding hands world you live in. And I also encourage the viewers tonight to prove me wrong. And if there is work out there, even dishwasher work, please let me know. I am still homeless on your streets. Dishwasher work, please let me know. I am still homeless on your streets. And if there is work out there, even dishwasher work, please let me know. I am still homeless on your streets. That city has a magic and a beauty to it that is almost corrupted by all the people that are there, but I can't necessarily blame the people that have moved there, or to blame outsiders. Being an outsider myself to Colorado that came from Oregon, it's uncomfortable being an outsider. You just can't blame outsiders for regional problems. there was a sense of relief when I left the region in Oregon, and other people have empathy for what I'm saying, that watch my channel that also left Oregon. You know, both my mother and father left Oregon, but for different reasons. There's something about all of us. Like at one point, there was even like a family unit to a certain degree. I'm not going to break down crime, but there's a part of me that has writer's block in my life story. And it's talking about growing up in Oregon in the 1980s, and it's very difficult for me to write about my childhood. There's a lot of pain there. And I try to compose myself. There's a lot of pain between me and Oregon because at one point I lived on 40 acres. My grandfather was alive. He's no longer alive now. To where it becomes part of the culture, to where it goes from respecting the feminine to worshiping that ass. Yeah, baby. And, you know, men can be lustful, right? But we're supposed to, I'm not religious, but we shouldn't just be right around like, but oh no, hey baby. And it's like, if we want to be honest, like elements of our culture where certain cities just promote that in everything that they are. To the point to where the people that they want at the jobs, at the front, at the waitresses, the hostess, are the women that are young and hot. People want to have sex with them. It's gentrification begin to occur in areas, and actually Southeast as well, went from at one point kind of run down to a little bit more hip and cool. And like I said, when you have that on steroids, you can have people that are assed out, that aren't hip enough or cool enough to go along to get along. I realized that people were channeling The Walking Dead. This was after 2010, 2011. This is during the Portland Preparedness Days. The zombie energy was there very strongly in a real sense. There are some of you that may identify with one or the other, more on the Trump side, which is not aligned with my political process, but people watch anyways. Closed in reality. You know, it's difficult. As far as like the good things, it's an openness to certain ideas. They're a little bit radical, and again, I think it has to do with where it is on the planet. School. I'm getting off probation. I'm working at the London Grill, which is a restaurant at the lower level of the Benson Hotel. And I'm going about having these experiences that are leading me to this self-independence that I've never had. And it's the last few years of my grandfather's life. And by 2004, I'm wrapping up one chapter of my life. I'm living down the street from literally where they played the movie, What the Bleak Do We Know? And as I'm creating my reality and I'm telling radio host Clyde Lewis, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to start a show. There was something about, even though Portland provided the place for me to fall, it provided the place for me to rise. If that makes sense. It's like, Portland's like, here's a rope. You want to hang yourself? Go for it. You'll find out what it's like. And yes, after a few years, I realized when George W. Bush is no longer in office, when it was Obama, that yeah, the city really didn't have much patience for me. And as anarchist and counterculture as it is, you know, some days I do wish, and I feel like I'm out to sea, that someone will read my message in a bottle. When a major earthquake and floats off into the sea, seriously now, I think that Portland, like a rose, like a fruit, it had its period, and it could be said that it's overtaken by human activity. Popping out of some of these regions and migrating elsewhere. And I don't think that it's for everyone. I don't think that it's for everyone to live in Colorado, or to live in Oregon, or to live in some different. I'm just sharing part of my story, but for me, right? When I think about like this conscious Portland, and there are people that are drawn there ultimately because there are people with unique perspectives and ideas and energies from all over the world that they're not finding in their own particular locales. Somebody even said it recently that it's unfortunate that I or someone like me would even have to live in this neighborhood.
There's certain things that some of us can't. And gee, something, our creator. None of us know what the creator is. We don't know what the creator is. We want to. We're trying to find out.
Oh, it's all good.
But we don't know. We're stuck in this place, every damn one of us. And we're trying to find a way out. I just met a man. I don't meet people very often that can construe to me that they have any kind of level of intelligence. But this guy clearly does.
How do you see Portland fitting in with the Tower of Babel?
But I know this through my personal. Babylon is where we were taken into different tongues.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a trip, man. Because we're all looking at.
Wow.
Oh.
Separated by different tongues.
In ways that most of us can't understand. In accordance to the Bible. So, you tried to build a stairway. But what's the stairway? Satellites.
Okay.
Space research. Those kinds of things.
A lot going on with space and space bases and promises of trips to Mars now. They're telling people they're going to take them to Mars in 10 years. What's that all about? Are they really going to take them to Mars? Or are they going to take them somewhere else? So there's a lot of us wondering what's going on with technology and this beast system that you talked about. And space, there's definitely a lot going on. And with geopolitics, you see tensions with all these countries we talked about, but they're united in space. They're united on their plans for this International Space Station and sharing it. And Russia going to the moon, China going to the moon. All that, I think, is very much related to that. Well, not like I literally like, oh my God, but you know, I feel, you know, I have a sense. Well, I love you too, man. I appreciate the conversation here, the last hour here. Stand outside my old work here, which is now the Church of Scientology. My thing is the lack of empathy and feelings I'm seeing from others. That's what has alerted me the most in this last year being back, because people should still have feelings for others in general, and not think that they can actually achieve happiness through selfish means. And that attitude seems to have taken over kind of the whole of the city, including the politicians. And so, as long as that continues, what can come from this?
decide.